You can tell I'm sick. Who am I kidding? I'm like this all the time. I think because I just want to cry. Burn. Thune. Hi and welcome back to the Books Are Everywhere. So today I'm here to do what I think is my first ever 5-star predictions video, and I really hope I don't jinx all of my enjoyment of all of these books now, because I basically feel like that's what I kind of could be doing. So I have a stack here of books I have pulled off my shelf that I think could be 5 stars when I finally get around to reading them. There are a few honourable mentions that I want to just throw in that I won't talk about in detail before we actually get started with the proper part of the video. The first one being Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. I feel like this one has the potential to be a 5-star, but I'm meant to start reading it like in the next few weeks and I don't want to jinx it. Same with The Adventures of Amina El-Sarafi. I feel like this also has the potential, but I'm about to start reading it, so I don't want to jinx either of these, so I'm not going to put them on the proper list. I know that that's stupid, but you know, that's the way my mind works. The other ones I just want to give a brief shout out, but I'm not 100% committed to putting them on this video, so I'm just going to give them a quick honourable mention, is Agency for Scandal for Laura Wood, because Under a Dancing Star was one of the best books of last year. Anything by Makoto Shinkai that I haven't read, because most of his stuff I rate either 4 or 5 stars. Book Lovers by Emily Henry, because I've recently heard really good things about her most recent release, which is Happy Place. My friend Charlotte just read that and said it was like really good. Firekeeper's Daughter, which I've heard good things about and was bought for me for Christmas as a recommendation by my friend G. The Honeys by Ryan Lasala, which I've heard really good things about as well. God Killer by Hannah Kaner. Most of these are ones I haven't read anything by the author, so it's why it's ended up on this list, because I'm not 100% sure. Or things like Babel by R.F. Kuang, which is like Yellowface and Babel are both on here as potential 5 stars, but I'm not committing because the Poppy War was definitely not, but had the potential at the start to be a 5-star, so I have hope for those two. And then last but not least, Her Majesty's Royal Coven by Juno Dawson, because even though nothing else I've read by Juno Dawson has been a 5-star, I feel like there is the potential there. I've heard nothing but good things about Her Majesty's Royal Coven, so you never know. Okay, so those are all my honourable mentions quickly. Now I'm going to start on the stack right here. So no particular order, it's just the way they were stacked. The first one is Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid, mainly because The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo was so good and was one of the best books I read last year. I loved it so much. And I'm pretty sure that it's either this one or Carrie So To His Back that Courtney said was even better. And she gave me this copy because she got a hardback. I bought her a hardback. I can't remember right now. I think she gave me this copy though. I don't think I bought it. But anyway, this book I think has a good chance of being a 5-star because I loved The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo so much. I thought it was amazing. This one is set in August 1983. It's set in Malibu. It's set in Malibu. You can tell I'm sick. Who am I kidding? I'm like this all the time. Let's move past that. This is set in Malibu in August in 1983, and it's following a group of people who are involved in the surfing community. Surfer and a supermodel, their families, their siblings, they're a source of fascination in Malibu and the world over, especially as the children of legendary singer Mick Reaver. There's a party that goes out of control, the mansion goes up in flames. But before that, the alcohol flowed, the music plays, and the secrets come bubbling to the surface. Sounds like this is going to be full of mystery, which is what I loved about Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, and I really didn't expect to get from that book. So if this one has even more intrigue and mystery, definitely could be a 5-star. The next one I've put on here is actually The Winners by Frederick Bateman. The only reason this is on here is because it's actually the only Frederick Bateman book I own, but I requested this from the publisher, not realising it's a sequel to Beartown, but I just want to put anything by Frederick Backman on here because from what I've heard of Frederick Backman's writing, I have a feeling it's going to be like a lot of his books are going to be 5 stars for me. I'm going to talk about Beartown because that's the one this is the sequel to Beartown and this is the only one I actually currently own. I have been itching to read a Frederick Backman book recently, I think because I just want to cry. I haven't cried at a book in so long, I kind of just want to read something sad, but I feel like I want to start with something that is not this chunky and is maybe not a sequel. I think a lot of Frederick Backman's books are set in Sweden and that's no different for Beartown. Beartown is basically following a small community that's nestled deep in a forest, and this community is heavily focused on hockey. Hockey is a massive thing where they're from. The junior ice hockey team is about to compete in the national semi-finals. They have a shot winning. All the hopes and the dreams of this place are pinned on these boys winning. But obviously that is a lot to put on the shoulders of a group of teenage boys, and then the semi-final match is a catalyst for a violent act that will leave a young girl traumatised and a town in turmoil. Accusations are made and they ripple through the entire community, leaving no resident unaffected. I feel like this can be really heavy hitting. I feel like it can contain a lot about a very small community. I've heard that the characters in these stories are very well fleshed out and you really feel for them. So I feel like it's going to really make me cry, but I love books that make me cry. I feel like any of his books have the potential of being a 5-star. There is definitely a few on here that have been recommended by friends, and the next one is no different. It's Clara Anderson by Kazuo Ishiguro. I have never read a Kazuo Ishiguro book, but I'm very intrigued by a lot of his writing. And my friend Jo actually read this book couple of years ago, whenever it first came out, because she was one of the very few people to actually have a proof copy, if I remember rightly, and she really loved it. So when we had this copy come into the shop with these frayed edges, I decided to pick it up because this is actually a new series of Kazuo Ishiguro books they're doing, I think, that matches this cover, and I thought why not start with this one because Jo really loved it. This one follows Clara, who is essentially a robot. She's an artificial friend. She's in this store and she basically observes the nature and behaviours of people that pass by on the street outside. She remains hopeful that a customer will choose her and take her home. Then the possibility emerges that her circumstances may change forever, and she's warned not to invest too much in the promises of humans. I have heard, and I think this book is going to be a really interesting kind of study of human characteristics, of how we treat each other, how we treat artificial intelligence. I think this could be a really interesting look at what our possible futures could look like. I just think this is going to be fascinating, and knowing that Jo loved it, I think it has the potential to be a 5-star. The next one is Hold Still by Nina LaCour, and I realise I'm wondering how many of the books I've put on here have the potential to make me cry. I think there's definitely at least 3, but I really love Nina LaCour's writing. I've read We Are Okay, which made me cry a lot, and I've also read Everything Leads to You, but I don't think that one made me cry, but both of them were 5 stars. I absolutely love what I've read from Nina LaCour. So when I saw this in a London bookshop last year, I had to pick it up because I just want to add more and more to my Nina LaCour collection. I don't know too much about what this is about anymore, but I just knew that I wanted to read it. So this is following Ingrid and Caitlyn, and unfortunately I think at the start of the book Ingrid commits suicide and immobilises Caitlyn, leaving her unsure of her place in a new life that she hardly recognises, a life without the art, the laughter, the music and the joy that she shared with her best friend. Ingrid left something behind. In words and drawings, she documented a painful farewell in her journal. Journeying through Ingrid's final days, Caitlyn fights back through unspeakable loss to find renewed hope. I don't think I need to say much more. I definitely think this is going to make me cry and make me very sad. However, I think it's going to pack a punch, just like We Were Okay did. I think I could read it in one sitting, just like I did with We Were Okay. Or We Are Okay? Am I saying that completely? I think I'm calling it the wrong thing. It's actually called We Are Okay. But I love that book. I love Nina LaCour. 5-star right here. The next one is Yoke by Mary H.K. Choi, and this is another one that's on here because I loved another of the author's work, which I think is most of these books, to be honest. I've read Emergency Contact by this author, absolutely loved it, and it meant a lot to me personally. However, I think I prefer the idea of this book. I prefer the concept of this book. I just think Emergency Contact hit me personally in a way that I didn't really expect, because it reminded me a lot of how me and my partner met and got together. So it meant a lot to me, and means a lot to me. But I really, really like the concept of yoke, and I've only just realised this is a sprayed edge. This is like throughout the book on as little lines, but it's the sisters holding hands, and that is incredible. Anyway, this follows Jane and June, who are two sisters who are nothing alike. They were once inseparable and thick as thieves, but as they've grown older, they don't want anything to do with each other. They have moved from Seoul to San Antonio and are now living in New York, and June gets cancer. Jane is the only one who can help her, so they are flung together by sickness and bound by family secrets. Will the sisters learn more about themselves and each other than they're willing to confront? I think this is going to be an amazing book about illness, about siblings, about family, and about sibling relationships and rivalry. I think it could be really interesting, and I'm very excited to read it. The next one on this list is The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet. I have heard so many good things about this book over the years that I couldn't not put it on this list, because I think I really could love it, but honestly it really daunts me, which is why I haven't picked it up yet, because it's not the thinnest book, but also the text is very small. However, it is written in kind of diary entries and things, I think, and I'm expecting it to be a much quicker read than I think it will be. But this one is following Rosemary Harper, who joins the crew of the Wayfarer. She wants to be on a spaceship. This offers her a small, quiet spot to call home for a while and adventure in far-off corners of the galaxy. The crew is a mishmash of species and personalities, but they all get on quite well, and they are all kind of living together in relative harmony on this ship. However, they are then offered the job of a lifetime, the chance to board a hyperspace tunnel to a distant planet. They'll earn enough money to live comfortably for years if they survive the trip through war-torn space without endangering any of the fragile alliances that keep the galaxy peaceful. But Rosemary isn't the only one on board with secrets to hide, and the crew will soon discover that space may be vast, but spaceships are very small indeed. I believe this is also LGBT, and I think I could really, really love it. I want to read more sci-fi as well. And this is a long series, well, it's a 4-book series so far, so if I do enjoy it, there are more that I could check out. The next one I am putting on here because I want an Agatha Christie book to be 5 stars. Everything I've read so far just hasn't completely got me, and they've all been 4 stars or 3 or 3.5, I think, between 3 and 4. But the one I have the highest hopes for is Murder on the Orient Express, because this story really appeals to me. However, it might be a bit foolish of me to put this one on here because I know the ending, so I won't have the impact of the plot twist, because I do know how it ends because I've watched the movie. So I don't know if it's the smartest one to put on here, but let's just say all Agatha Christie books, I am putting it out into the universe. I want an Agatha Christie book to be 5 stars. Probably don't need to cover this one too much because I'm sure you guys probably already know the brief synopsis of Murder on the Orient Express. Essentially, it's about a group of characters who are on the Orient Express, a train, and somebody is murdered and they are trying to find out who the murderer was. I think this is a Poirot, if I remember rightly. I think Poirot is on the train. Not 100% sure because I can't remember from the movie, but I have just flicked through and seen Poirot's name. So I think Poirot is in this book. I think it's a Poirot, but I'm excited to read it even though I know the ending. I think it has the potential to be a 5 star, and I just want one of them to be a 5 star, to be honest. The next one is probably the one I'm most hesitant to put on this list, and that is The 10,000 Doors of January by Alex E. Harrow. And I think if Courtney hadn't just read or is currently reading this book and said that she thinks I will love it and she really loved it, then I wouldn't have put it on this list. It's really Courtney reading this week that has made me actually more hopeful for this book, because I've read The Once and Future Witches by Alexi Harrow and I really didn't like it that much at all. I think I gave it 3 stars in the end, and it was a generous 3 stars. I just personally could not click with the writing style of that book. But before I'd read Once and Future Witches, this was a 5-star prediction, because this is meant to be perfect for fans of The Night Circus, and The Night Circus is one of my favourite books of all time. So it could, you never know. But this one is following a woman called January, who is a curiosity herself. She is the ward of the wealthy Mr. Locke. She feels little different from the artefacts that decorate his halls, carefully maintained, largely ignored and utterly out of place. But her quiet existence is shattered when she stumbles across a strange book. A book that carries the scent of other worlds and tells the tale of secret doors and danger, of love and adventure. With each page she reads, January learns impossible truths about the world and discovers a story increasingly entwined with her own. I feel like this could be a beautiful fantasy, lyrical, enchanting, all of the things it's advertised here as. Could be a 5-star, we'll never know. It seemed like Courtney really has been enjoying it, so hopefully I will too. Courtney also said she thinks I'm gonna love it, which is why I put it on this list. The next one is If We Were Villains by M. Al Rio, and I've heard such good things about this book. I really think it could be a 5-star read. Fingers crossed. I believe Courtney also has read this and really enjoyed it. Don't hold me to that, because I feel like it's this one. Is it this one? It's not The Secret History. But anyway, this one is following Oliver Marks, who has just served 10 years in prison for a murder he may or may not have committed. When he comes out of prison, he's greeted by the detective that put him in prison, who wants to know what happened 10 years ago. 10 years ago, Oliver was in school. He was studying Shakespeare when one of the teachers changed up the casting, and a good-natured rivalry turned ugly, with the play dangerously spilling over into life. Tragedy struck and one of the 7 friends was found dead. The rest faced their greatest acting challenge yet, convincing the police and themselves that they are blameless. I've heard nothing but good things. Plot sounds like it could be brilliant. Hopefully it's a 5-star. We're down to the last 2. Thank you for bearing with me, and I hope you're enjoying this video so far. The next one is Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldry, which I am so excited to read, and I feel like I just need to pick up while it's still just about like cozy winter vibes, because I feel like this is definitely a cozy winter book. And this one is essentially just your ultimate cozy fantasy from what I've heard. So many people that I've heard read it have absolutely loved it and said it was really, really good. And it's essentially about an orc. Yeah, an orc barbarian who is hanging up her sword and opens a coffee shop. It says high fantasy, low stakes and a double shot of coffee. And Viv is basically trying to open the first coffee shop in Thurn. Thune? Who knows? She's opening the first coffee shop in this land. And she needs help from other people all over the land to make it happen. And I think it's basically following some unlikely friendships, just hanging out, having coffee, making this coffee shop work. I think this is going to be full of food as well, and I love food in a book. I've heard that this includes cinnamon rolls. I hope it does. I hope that's true. And the fan art that I've seen is true. I'm excited to pick this one up. It's now out in the UK as well. This is the proof that I had from the publisher, so thank you to them. This one also has a quote from Ben Aronovich that says the most fun I've ever had in a coffee shop, which I just think is a brilliant quote. Last but not least, I could not finish this video without including a book by TJ Klune, and I've decided to talk about Wolfsong. I have no idea if I'm going to love this or not. I have a feeling though that I am. I have read TJ Klune's most recent books, so I've read The House in the Cerulean Sea and Under a Whispering Door. Both of them were without doubt some of my favourite books in the world. Both of them were 5 stars. However, this was his first series, which was actually written a long time ago and is just being published in the UK and the US now. Traditionally, I believe this is the first traditional release it's had. I'm not entirely sure though, don't hold me to that. This is being re-released with the massive fan base that The House in the Cerulean Sea and Under a Whispering Door now have. I also really want to read Extraordinary The Extraordinaries, I think it's called. Yeah, that series. But I have a feeling this one has more of a potential to be a 5-star than The Extraordinaries does. This one is following Ox Matheson, who was 12 when his father taught him a lesson. He wasn't worth anything and people would never understand him, and then he left. He was 16 when the Bennett family where did I get Batterson from? Oh, Matheson. The Bennett family moved in next door, harbouring a secret. They are shapeshifters who can turn into wolves. He was 23 when murder came to town, meaning that he lost one of his best friends, who was one of the Battersons' sons. 3 years later, the son, Joe, is back, except now he's a man and Ox can no longer ignore the song that howls between them. Feel like this is going to be gay, beautiful, probably sad, probably gonna make me cry. This is the other book on this list that will probably make me cry, but has the potential to be a 5-star, just like hopefully every other book we have discussed in this video. Okay, that brings me to the end of the first ever 5-star predictions video I have done on this channel. I hope you've enjoyed it and I hope I will see you in another video. Please drop a comment below with what you think a 5-star prediction for you will be, whether you think I'm gonna love any of these books. Fingers crossed I will, but bye for now.